Welcome to this very special edition of the Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us author Stuart Perrin, as you can see on the screen. So we'll talk about his book, Rudra Meditation, Transforming Life's Tensions into Joy and Love. And it's a part memoir and part study of the deepest elements of meditation, as he says, and how they can be made practical in daily life. He says we don't need to be a monk or nun or live in a monastery or ashram to recognize the sacred teachings that are everywhere. A developed chakra system enables us to see that the real guru is life itself, and daily meditation practice transforms suffering and pain into harmony and balance and creates within ourselves a whole person. So let's talk about his book, the Rudra Meditation, Transforming Life's Tension into Joy and Love. Let's dive into the story behind the story. Welcome to the show, Stuart.
Thank you, Ajay. It's a pleasure to be here and to discuss this with you and your audience, and a book that came from such a deep place inside myself. It literally took years to write it because I had to tap that energy inside that made it possible to create the book. So thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me talk about this.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you. We'll talk obviously about the book and everything about the book that had happened. But before that, let's talk a bit about your journey towards becoming an author. What inspired you to become an author in the first place, Stuart? It's not an easy task to write books. Help us understand a bit about that part of your journey, inspiration.
It's just been, I don't know, when I was 16 years old, I started writing. And honestly, Ajay, when I started writing, I couldn't put two words together to make a sentence. It was impossible. It was very hard, but there was some deep and profound need in me to create, and I immersed myself as a young man in art and literature and music, trying to find, looking for some kind of truth. That's what I always found for me, was very real in the arts, some kind of level of truth that an artist is reaching for inside himself or herself. And it was a long journey because I finally had to clear myself up and get to a point where I could develop the craft of a writer. Writing is a craft. And one has to, the inspiration is the miraculous part of writing. But in order to make the inspiration practical, the craft has to be developed. It took me writing millions of words, books and poetry and this to develop that craft. And it happened maybe 15 or 20 years ago. And I wrote a book about an experience I had actually in India, in Nepal. And I had an editor who worked with me on the book. And she really whipped me into shape. She was wonderful. She was difficult, but wonderful because she taught me the craft of writing. She taught me to trust myself and then how to edit what comes out so that it creates, a book that is readable, that is interesting, that takes a person on a journey. And I have a lot of gratitude to this person because she was a very big influence in the writing that took place in my life. I've written about 9 books. The last one is this Rudra Meditation, transforming, life's tension into joy and love. I wrote this book because basically it was an exploration of 2 things. It was a memoir. It's a memoir of my life and how I found a person in my life who basically saved my life when I was a young man. And a way of learning how to develop an inner life that is capable of transforming the things that are killing us inside into life-giving energies. I spent 9 years as a young man looking for somebody who could teach me this. And it happened what I thought was accidentally, and it wasn't an accident. It was really the universe at work, introducing a person into my life who was teaching exactly what I was looking for. He was teaching this Rudra meditation, and it meditation that was developed upon, first of all, learning how to get grounded, learning how to build foundation inside oneself, learning how to use the tools we're born with, mind, breath. I mean, we don't have to go shopping for these tools. We are born with them. A need, to grow, to have a life, the will to do it. All of these tools, exist within a human being. The problem is that people have to learn how to master them and to use them inside themselves. I knew this before I met this teacher. His name was Swami Rujananda, but I didn't know how to do it. And the first day I met him, the second day I met him, he sat me down and he showed me a meditation technique. That was the exact thing the first thing is where to go inside myself and how to get there and use the mind to open the very core of my being, the foundation, the area the Japanese call the hara, the Chinese call the tatien, and in Hinduism and Buddhism, it's the chakra right below the navel. That is the very core of our being. And it would be like building a building without a foundation. You need to have foundation. And he taught me how to build that foundation inside myself. That foundation enabled me to open the heart. I had the strength inside myself not to be afraid to open my heart. And the whole quest of inner work and meditation is God is love. God is joy. God is happiness. But people haven't the capacity to keep their hearts open. If something good happens to them, they're joyous and happy. And 10 minutes later, the negativity takes over and they get into depression and unhappiness and guilt and just feeling, a terrible sense of their own inadequacy inside themselves. So he taught me how to develop the very foundation of my being. In one of the books I wrote many years ago, I talk about a tree, and a tree that has strong roots. You understand? A hurricane can't blow it over. People don't have those kind of roots inside themselves. So any little negative situation that happens to them just really tears them apart. And the book, Rudra Meditation, talks about how to use the mind, the breath, how to use the tools we're born with to build a chakra system inside that enables us to truly have the strength to transform negativity into a positive energy. My teacher once told me that, look, everybody suffers. There isn't a person, 8 billion people in the world that don't suffer from one thing or another. And the point of meditation, as I learned it from him, was to take that suffering and use it to get closer to God. And I read something the Buddha said. He said, suffering is the fastest path to spiritual enlightenment. And it really is, because it's a constant reminder that we have to do something about ourselves. And if we don't do it, we are stuck with all that negativity. So it's a constant reminder that we have to fix ourselves. We have to quiet all the internal chaos, all the internal difficulty that people experience every day. We have to get detached from all the illusion, the madness that goes on in the objective world. I once told some students of mine, and it's also in my book, this, I can't remember one day in my life where the world hasn't been crazy, where there hasn't been war, there hasn't been genocide, there hasn't been people starving all over the globe, poverty. I can't remember one day. and I realized in profoundly doing the meditation that I talk about in this book that I have to change. What I see is a reflection in the objective world, is a reflection of my own reality. And if I don't change that reality inside myself, it will take over, and it will just suck every ounce of energy out of me. So I have to learn how to build the kind of system inside that's strong enough to detach myself from Maya. I mean, the objective world is just illusion. It's transitory. It comes, it goes, people are born, life goes, everybody leaves, we're reincarnated again to come back and try it again. And that's the Maya, it's the illusion. How do we allow the Maya to become our teacher instead of our enemy? How do we allow the Maya to truly teach us what we have to do inside ourselves to grow and to develop a spiritual life? And I realized early on that meditation is not a religion. Meditation is not a cult. Meditation is a craft. And the craft of meditation is something we need to learn in order to do one simple thing: develop our humanity, become happy people, build a system inside that enables us to do this. That system is dependent upon how strong the chakras are, the chakra system in a human being. There are 7 basic chakras in a human being. As we all know, the third eye, the throat, the heart, right below the navel, the sex, the base of the spine, and the crown of the head. These chakras are a direct link with higher energy in the universe. And the fact is that people can't tap that energy because the chakra system is not developed inside them. Meditation is about the developing of a holistic system inside, not just, a lot of people just meditate on the third eye, they meditate on their breathing, on the heart. So we have to build a whole person. We have to get grounded. We have to master the chaos that exists in the human mind. We have to master the chaos that exists in the emotions and the heart. We have to master sexual chaos. We have to build inside our system, inside us, a system that is strong enough that connects us to spirit. That spirit has a very difficult time entering us because there's so much confusion inside people. This is what my book, Rudra Meditation, goes into. It does it through, the wisdom of the book. It also does it through memoir. And it teaches really basically what's essential if a human being needs to learn how to develop the single most important thing we're born on the earth to develop, the highest levels of our own humanity, to be happy people, to be full of love, to have compassion, kindness, to truly allow ourselves to listen to other people instead of knowing better than them, allowing them to be our teacher, and by being our teacher, you understand, every single human being, has something important to give us in our life. And we're not going to put them down. We're going to listen to them and learn what it is they have to teach us about ourselves. And I think this is a significant thing. People don't listen to each other. Everybody is right. Everybody knows better than everybody else. And all people are trying to do is to fit everybody else into their own reality. Nobody fits. Instead of opening and allowing us to learn from them, and then they can come into our reality, we embrace what they have to teach us. And I think this is an essential element. It's an essential element of my book, because I learned years ago, I'm not right. My teacher, Rudy, used to tell me that he'd much prefer to be wrong in life. And I looked and I said, why? He said, if I'm wrong, then I can learn something. If I'm right, there's nowhere to go. I have finished my journey. I know better than everybody else. And of course, when you spend time with people that are right all the time, it's impossible to be around them. You can't take a breath. You can't say a word. They know better. And most of the world is created of people who think they know better. And that's why there's so much conflict in life. Children rebel against the parents because the parents are telling them what's right. They don't give the kids the room to find their own creative life. And I think this is an essential thing. Everybody is unique and everybody has a path to follow. And nobody can dress them in a costume and create a path for them. They have to be nurtured. They have to be loved. They have to be supported. I mean, I know I have a young daughter, and when she was in high school, she used to get into all kinds of problems, and I used to meet with her, and I never lectured her about it. I would just say to her, "What did you learn? What did you learn?" And she would tell me, "You're the only one who says that to me. Everybody else is telling me what's right." I said, "Ania, what did you learn? What did you learn going through this experience? Let it be a teacher for you, so that in the future of your life, you recognize things like that and you're able to deal with them." And, a lot of this is also in my book. I talk about memoir. I talk about how I got involved in spiritual teachings. I talk about the traumas of my life, things that, really demanded either succumbing to anger and negativity or using it to, build my inner life and get stronger and get closer to having a spiritual life instead of getting swept away in the being upset that negative things and trauma have happened to me. So I hope the things I talk about rings true to people, because spiritual life is, the first thing is just learning to be human. Human beings have a spiritual life. And what does it mean to be human? We are full of love. We have compassion. We respect life. Life becomes a sacred treasure. Time becomes a sacred treasure. Why use it badly? Why use it in a negative way? We are given a certain period, 10 years, 50 years, 80 years. And in that period, every moment is sacred and should be used for us learning how to build ourselves, learning how to get stronger, learning how to fill ourselves with more love, more compassion. Instead of being angry and resentful and judgmental and, tearing everybody apart and life is the enemy. Life isn't the enemy. We make it the enemy. Life is an amazing friend if we learn how to build a system inside that allows it to be a friend. If we're no longer intimidated by it, but we embrace it. My teacher, Rudy, once told me, he said to me, "Stuart, if anyone had asked you who the guru is, tell them the guru is life." I'll never forget that, AJ, because it took me 20 years to learn what he was talking about. The guru is not Stuart. The guru isn't Swami so-and-so and Yogi this one and the rabbi, each and every one of those people is supposed to teach the disciple how to get strong enough to embrace the real guru, life. Life is this extraordinary university. So much to teach every one of us. And we keep it from happening because we haven't built a system that's strong enough inside to embrace it. So we fight with it, we argue, we judge it, we create wars, we create insanity that goes on all over the world, instead of the real guru is life. And I tell that to my students. I'm not the guru. I am here to train you in how to build a chakra system that will enable you to sit in front of the real guru and learn from the real guru. And there aren't two people in this room that will learn the same way. Everybody is unique. And everybody has a unique connection with higher energy, God, whatever one wants to call it. And they have to find their way to. All I am here to do is help you build a system that is strong enough to do that. And it took my teacher telling me the real guru is life for me to ultimately learn that, how to open and embrace my real teacher. And that I will never, the first time I ever taught a meditation class, AJ, it's also in my book. After my teacher, I had no idea what I was doing. Frankly, there were 50 people sitting in the room waiting for my teacher to come. And it was so funny because, my teacher, he used to enjoy playing poker. Just, not a lot of money, nickels and pennies and rupees but he just enjoyed doing that. And right before a meditation class, right, we're sitting and playing a little game of poker, and he taps me in the rib and he said, "How would you like to teach the class today?" So I look at him. I said, "Rudy, we're at a poker game." He said, I said, "You always do that." I was made a teacher at a guru at a poker game, So he said, "Go up and get a shower." I went down to the classroom. There were 50 people waiting for him. I sat down to do this. I had no idea what I was doing. I just prayed to God that I could get through it, and whatever I learned from it will help me the next time. Anyway, after the class, he was thrilled. He was happy. He was passing on his spiritual teachings to a new generation. And this couldn't have thrilled him more. And he gave me a big hug, and and then he said to me something I'll never forget, Ajay. He said to me, "Next year at his ashram in Big Indian, first I'll teach, then you'll teach, then we'll show cartoons." And I said, "Stuart, don't take yourself too seriously. You can be replaced by Bugs Bunny. Don't ever let your ego get involved in this thing. You are not so important. You are just a servant of God. And that is the best you can do in this life." Well, these kind of teachings, which sound funny, and you don't expect this from a guru, were wonderful because it taught me how to get free of me. I wasn't so important. My service to God was really important. And in order to serve higher energy, I have to have humility. I have to have innocence. And I have to have the kind of strength inside myself that allows me to live with humility and live with innocence. And, and the meditation technique that I talk about a lot in the book shows a path in how to do this, how to transform life into the guru, how to recognize that humility is really a kind of strength that is more powerful than the strongest ego that exists on the earth. It enables us to become a servant for infinite energy in the universe. In the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna reveals himself to Arjuna, it's as if the light of 1,000 suns suddenly appears in this. It's beyond all human comprehension. And if you want to be a teacher, if you have to connect with this energy that is beyond all human comprehension. And you can't do it by knowing better. You have to have an open heart. You have to have humility. You have to have love. And you have to understand that less is more. The less of me involved, the more of this energy can flow through. All of this stuff is in my book, AJ. All of it is in the book. And I'm just thrilled and happy that I can share all of these things I've learned in my life with other people. And hopefully it'll help them see something important about their own life.
Absolutely, Stuart. Well explained. And I was just listening to everything that you said, especially about the life being the biggest teacher. So, in that sense, who is this book for, Stuart?
I don't. The question to me, who is it not for? I mean, look, I'm not trying to sell books, But every human being goes through exactly what I'm talking about. And every human being has to learn how to deal with it. And this book goes into it in depth. And and look, I had a friend of mine, very close friend of mine. He's an artist who lives in Paris. And he called me up. He read my book. He called me up. He says, Stuart, this book is beyond literature. He said, this is a spiritual book. He said, it goes beyond literature. And I just started to cry. I said, you got it. You got what I have done. You understand? And the essence of the book is not even spirit. It's we have to learn how to become human beings. Meditation is only a craft that teaches us how to build a system inside that allows us to become human. So this book is not for anyone in particular. It's for anyone who truly wants to learn how to do this. And I think that rich and poor and in middle class and, whatever country people live in, whatever races they are, they're all going through the same struggles. They're all going through the same struggles. And when this book came out of me, I realized, Stuart, this is a book for whomever is undergoing the difficulties of life. I used to be in the kind of Asian art business, and I once got a painting, I'll never forget. It was a Japanese Zen painting of a staff, just a stick, and there was calligraphy on either side of the staff. And it said on this painting, those who are on the path get hit with this stick, and those who are not on the path get hit with this stick. So the whole idea of it is, why not use your suffering consciously instead of just being hit by the stick and being angry and upset about it? Why not learn how to use the difficulties of life consciously so that it helps us develop our humanity? It helps us develop an inner life that is strong enough that can connect with spirit. So I don't think there's a particular audience for this book. I think it's whomever happens to pick it up and read it and can find something about their own life in it. And it's not for any particular group of people, not for yogis. Sometimes yogis, they know better, they know more. People who just, hey, my God, this book, it really has helped me in my life.
Absolutely. So, in a nutshell, Stuart, what key insight, what key message that you want readers of your book to take away with them?
AJ, the only person they're up against is themselves. And they have to learn to master themselves. The book is a guide in how to do it. And if they open to what has been written there, they can learn probably the single most important lesson. They are up against only one person in this world, themselves. And if they learn how to live with open hearts, with love, as I've said a number of times, with compassion, if they learn how to connect with higher energy, if they learn how to have humility, they build a system inside that can do it, that's what the book is for. And to teach them, there's only one person, and that's themselves, that they have to master. Once they master themselves, the rest of the world it becomes a different kind of world they live in. They learn that everybody, good, bad, indifferent, and ugly, is just their teacher. And they can teach them something important about themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely, Stuart. So this is your ninth book, if I heard you correctly.
Yes.
You call it the last book. I don't believe it's the last book. Any other book in the pipeline? Anything else that you are doing? You want the world to know about, Stuart?
Yeah, yes. Look, I don't know. I mean, I have books of short stories I haven't published. I have poetry books I haven't published. I have a book, a coffee table book on Tantra. 108 essays with paintings from all over the world, masterpieces of art from every religion in the book that I haven't published yet. these books just come to me, AJ. They really do. And I never know what the next one is going to be. I've written novels about the 1960s. I have short stories. I was in an airplane crash with my teacher, Rudy, where he took his samadhi in that airplane crash. And I wrote a novelette about this that's in a book called The Mystical Ferry Boat and Other Stories. So I never know. I just am open to what the universe sends. And then one day I find myself writing a book. And it always is surprising to me what comes out. So there's no one project I'm involved with right now. I'm involved with trying to maybe help people find this book, Rudra Meditation, and how to transform tension in themselves into love and joy. And also I teach. I have 7 classes a week on Zoom that I teach. I've done about 1,400 talks that are on Facebook and YouTube. I have a website. It's just one busy life. And the books come, but I never know what they are. I wrote a book about Nepal and India that was published about 10 years ago. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to come. But whatever comes, it's magical. It's magical. And I always look at it in one way, AJ, and I really mean this. I am just the vehicle through which it comes into the world. And the thing I have learned is the craft of writing, and the universe sends these books to me. And I wrote a book about a 13-year-old girl who was told by the doctor she had 3 weeks to live because she had a cancer the size of a grapefruit inside her. And it's called Leah, the story of meditation and healing. And it reveals a very profound form of healing, this book, through using the meditation exercise that I practice. And it's written like a novel. It's a story, but it also goes so these books just come. I can't explain it. One day I find myself writing them. And then I have to know how to edit, and I have to know how to craft the book to make it into something legible that people can read. But thank you for asking. And I hopefully, maybe it'll inspire something in the universe and another book will come through me.
There is so much to learn about all this from you, Stuart, and I'm sure a lot of people would want to connect with you, learn more from you, about your journey, about other books, learn from this particular book, Rudra Meditation.
AJ, my email is stuartdperrin@gmail.com. If people want to connect with me, I answer every email that people send me. And if they have questions, they want to ask things, I'm open to people doing that. There's no problem. Stuart, Stuart, D as in David, Perrin, Perrin, @gmail.com. If they want to come to my classes, I'll arrange it so they can do that. I have people in my classes that come from 4 different continents. They come from South America. They come from the Middle East. I had some people from India that were coming, and come from Europe, and they come from all over the United States to my Zoom classes. So it's readily available if people want to find out. And I'm happy. There's nothing greater joy in me than sharing what I've learned with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KAJ. Thank you so much indeed for joining us.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you.